Good day everyone, this is Rushane Jones. Again, going to be showing you another After Effects tutorial. What we'll be creating today is sort of what is known as a video effects template, which means that you can create it for one project, and then when another person opens it, they can simply change just a few parameters, and then they'll get it to be what they want it to be. Alright, the first thing we're going to do is just show you what we're going to be doing today. Just open VLC. Alright, so in that particular video right there, we just have very few layers. Some of the resources you can create on your own, and then I'm just going to post the link down here for you to find the other resources that I use in this video. Alright, let's start a new project. Alright, now the first thing you want to do, first of all, is you want to create a new composition, because in After Effects you have well, you're creating a project essentially. What you do is new composition, and then you set how you want it to be. Right now I'm just going to use the default NTSC D1 widescreen square pixel, right? And I'm going to set my duration for about 20 seconds. Background color can be black, and press OK. Now if you realized in the video we had a nice looking background, we had some text, and then we had this light lens flare just going across the top like that. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to create our what is known as a solid that we can use as our background. So just right click, new solid, and we can leave that black or whichever color we choose, and then afterwards going into the effects preset over here. And if you can't find your effects preset, what you just do is go into workspace standard, but if that's already messed up you can always choose to reset standard, and just type in ramp, RAMP, and just drop that on there. Now our ramp right now is a linear ramp, and over here in the effects controls, normally beside the project panel, we have ramp and we have all the properties here. Now the first thing we're going to do is we're going to change this to a radial ramp, right? And then we notice that the colors here are, well, black to white. We want to kind of invert that, so we just choose white over here, and we can choose sort of a grayish bluish color. Now you can choose to go with whatever color you like, but I'm just going to stick with this for now. Carry this up just a bit like that. Now this can work the way it is, and this you can always choose to move that, and you can see over here that the properties begin to change. Alright, let's continue. Alright, so after we've created our solid, right, what we're going to do afterwards is that you want to make sure that your solid is working okay. Next part of it is let's put in our text. It's going to create, my word was salvation. I just typed in salvation, right? And over here in our paragraph settings, we're just going to center that so that it's center line, and we're also going to scale it up by going in the character settings, change the font size. You're going to center that. Now if you want to be in the direct center of this thing, you can always turn on your rulers, and you can press Ctrl R just like in Photoshop, and then you can just simply carry this over and center it to the position it needs to be, right? But if you're not too sure, we have something down here called the grids and guides option, and we're going to choose title, action, safe. Kind of gives you a little guide here, so you can know that your objects are in the center. So I'm going to move this here to the center of this, and this can center it there, and simply just move over our text to the right side. Very well then. A little bit up. Salvation. and I can just hide these again. And what this really thing, this guide here, the title action safe, essentially provides a guideline so you can know that you want most of your content within this safe area, because essentially when you export to, for instance, television and any other format, clipping might occur. So all that you really want to see on screen, you should really keep inside this area here. I'm just going to take that off now. We have salvation right here. The next thing we're going to do, if we look at the video again, is that we have this flare, right? And if you look back a bit, right, you'll notice that there is somewhat of a blend of the bright light. Now there are different effects you can add. We're going to add another effect to our same solid here. Now solid is just a basic object in After Effects you can use to apply effects to, but the one we just used a while ago was called the lens flare. Lens flare, and you can simply double click on it if you want to apply it to the selected layer, or you can drag it onto it or drag it over here. And we have that there. We have this right here, right? Now that is the flare origin, and over here we have a few settings here, like the brightness of the flare. We also have blending with original. We also have the flare center, which we can pretty much position anywhere we want to have it. Alright, the next thing we're going to do is change the lens type to 105mm prime. It kind of gives me the best effect, but it all depends on you. So essentially when we're just moving it across, it's going to look pretty much like this. So essentially what we want to do first of all is just a simple basic animation. We want to move this flare across. Now, when we have effects that we want to animate, you'll notice that you see a bunch of different little time stopwatches. It's a time called a variable time stopwatch. Essentially you are able to animate any of these properties here. But if we look into our solid settings, you'll see that there's an effects area. You collapse that or expand that or whatever, and then you can go on a lens flare. And right now nothing is selected. What we want to do is manipulate the flare center. So we want to start at one point here, right? And over time you're gonna have it go across like so, right across, right? So that's good as it is, and what we'll see here is this moving across. Now in the video what happened is that as it moved across, it got brighter and then revealed the word. So here's what we're going to do. As this thing goes across here, we kind of want to manipulate the flare brightness as well. So we're going to start default at 0 or very little. 36 can work. We're going to turn on this flare brightness. We're going to have it so that this thing comes across, gets bright about in the center, really bright, right, like so, and then just dissipates into nothing. So what will happen now is we'll have this going across, boom, like that. And if you want to be a little smoother, right now these are keyframes. By default you get linear keyframes, and I should mention that once you turn on the animatable properties, you simply move along in the timeline, adjust the property, and it drops a keyframe in there automatically. Alright, so we're gonna do that and just kind of let it go smoother. So click on it and press F9. That turns it into a Bezier keyframe, which acts a little smoother than your regular linear keyframe. Right, now if you notice, it goes across like this, but in our original video the word salvation doesn't appear until it's in the center. So what we're gonna do, looking at this, click on the word salvation, and you want to appear as soon as the light starts flashing. So what we can do is clip where it occurs by holding shift and moving your scrubbing indicator or your time indicator across, hold shift, drag the front here, and it'll snap as long as you're holding shift right there. So the word salvation now just appears right there. Now it doesn't look very smooth, but what we can do, however, is to change another property so it fades in quite nicely, and that property is the opacity. Now the shortcut is T, and that's opacity right there, and by default we want to start at 0, and right here starts at 0, and then right here goes to 100. So it's as if, whoosh, yeah, like that. So that part is done for now. Now the next part we want to work on is the shadow that appears on the edge. Let me just fix up this flare center right here at the beginning, right, so it looks like this. Nice. Now there's another part to it, the back part. I don't know if you saw it in the video clearly. You just play it again. Just look at the edge where this shadow that just follows the flare. Now in order to do that you need to add another property, but we're not going to add it to this word here. We're going to create another word, which is a duplicate word, and you can duplicate by pressing Ctrl D after selecting the layer. And we're going to move this to the bottom. Now it's just a word, and we can just simply use it like that. The color I want to use doesn't really matter right now, but the effect I really want to use is it's called light burst, I believe, and here we are, light burst. Now if we just drop this on that layer, what you will see happening is that, and that's not what we want. We want a darker shadow on it, but we want this to follow that. And you might be thinking, how do we get it to be very precise in terms of following it? Now we simply do something called parenting, or an effect expression parenting. I'm going to show you how that works. But first of all, once we have that the back, I'm going to change the color of this word. Simply hide this layer first, and I'm just going to change it to black because it's a shadow. It could stay as white still. Alright, so we have that. It appears like that. Doesn't look the greatest in the world, but that is fine. The next thing we need to do now is we have this thing called the center, as in where is the point of its origin. And we could probably try to line it up properly, and that would be a little tedious, but what we can simply do is we're gonna add an effect. We want this center to be dependent on something. So normally you'd click to add an expression. Normally you click to change a property, sorry. You're gonna press Alt and click at the same time, and you'll notice that everything becomes red. Right here you have an expression center, and what you want to do is you want to make sure that your effect, which is your lens flare center, will be the same, or you want this to be the same as your lens flare center. So just grab this center here and drag it all the way down to lens flare center. What will happen now is that we'll get that. Simply put, it's following the same properties. It's copying the same exact properties. So if we were to change the lens flare center, then this one will change. Right, so that appears rather suddenly and looks nice. Right, so we want it to kind of fade out afterwards. So what we can do is click on this same layer, and you have intensity, which controls how intense your light burst is, but you also have ray length, which controls how much it goes. So you want to kind of have it so that as this thing passes by, it starts fading out. So from here, ray length is at 50, move it across and have it come to 0, and you have that. Now the black shadow is a little dark right here, so what I can do is just lower the opacity of this thing, generally speaking. Right, so we have it like this, so not have it at 100% rather, but we can have it at about 50-40%, and it'll kind of lessen that. So you have this. Now also noted in my video is I have some smoke. Right, now that is stock footage we can simply add to After Effects. And we just go to the project window, double click. I'm just going to navigate to my my resources folder, videos, stock videos from YouTube, smoke puff footage. Right, and I have that there. We can simply just drag it in there. Now by default my video starts here, right, poof, like that. But I want that to appear only when my light is brightest. But you notice that the background is black, and if you've used Photoshop or any other graphic editing software before, you'll know that they have blending modes. And the blending modes are as following, all of these, but we want to use something called screen, which takes out the black essentially and has it like that. So we want the poof to happen when we have our flare being the brightest. So we do that, and we have that. Now you may be wondering about the sound. It's a sound I created in a program called Linux Multimedia Studio. Really simple to create the sound in there. They come with a bunch of presets. It's really simple to use, intuitive. It's sort of like Fruity Loops, except it's free. So anyway, moving on. Let me add that sound effect that I created. And it is in a folder right here, LMMS projects, sweep. Now I have my sound. I can just drop this here. And one thing I want to make sure of, you want to make sure that if your video or the smoke, it says it has sound on it, so we're gonna just click off that, so we only have the sweep sound playing. And if you want to hear it play out, you just press 0 on the numpad, so it can kind of buffer and then play out with the sound. See? Now we don't exactly need the rest of this time here, all this. So what I can do is clip it. I clip it about right here. So about here at 6 seconds 1 frame, and I'm gonna set my work end area to here. Hold shift to snap and right click, and you have something called trim comp to work area. I'm gonna trim that, and my entire composition now is 6 seconds and 1 frame. But essentially that's how you create this thing, and I hope you found this tutorial intuitive. Keep practicing and do better, and God bless you. Have a nice day.